Tears filled her eyes as she whispered to her children that they would be together forever. Then, with trembling hands, she lifted them into the water. The river took them swiftly. The sound of the current drowned their cries. And when it was over, she looked down into the dark water and realized what she had done. Her scream pierced the night. Villagers awoke to the sound of a woman's cry, wild, broken, endless. By morning, they found her body on the riverbank, her white dress soaked, her eyes open toward the sky. Her children were gone. The people buried her near the river, hoping her soul would find peace. But peace never came. Not long after her death, they began to hear it again, that same cry, drifting through the fog at night. "I, Miss Hios. Oh, my children." Some said they saw her walking near the water, her white dress glowing faintly, her hair tangled with reeds, her face hidden beneath a veil. Those who tried to speak to her said she turned toward them, and where her eyes should be, there was nothing but emptiness. The villagers began to call her La Llorona, the weeping woman. They believed she was cursed to roam the earth until she found her lost children. And so she walked, through valleys and rivers, through mist and moonlight, searching, always searching. It is said that when she sees a child wandering near the water at night, she mistakes them for her own. She calls to them gently, and if the child answers, she takes them, not out of malice, but from longing. In the morning, the river is calm again. Only the sound of water remains. This was how the story spread, from one mother to another, from one generation to the next. At first, it was a warning. Be careful near the river, or La Llorona will take you. But over time, it became something more, a tale of sorrow, of heartbreak, and of the unbearable weight of regret. Folklorists believe that Maria's story symbolizes more than personal tragedy. It reflects the struggles of an entire people during the colonial era, the pain of lost identity, love betrayed by power, and the deep scars of inequality. Her act of drowning her children was not only a crime of passion, it was the ultimate expression of hopelessness, a moment when love and despair became one. That is why, for centuries, La Llorona's cry has carried so much meaning. It is the cry of every broken heart, every abandoned soul, every mother who has ever lost what she loved most. And so, Maria became immortal not in life, but in sorrow. Her legend grew until her name was no longer spoken. She was simply La Llorona, the woman who weeps by the water, the mother who can never rest. Even today, people who live near rivers in Mexico say they can hear her when the air is still, a cry carried on the wind, rising from somewhere deep within the mist. Some believe it's just the wind through the trees. Others know better, because every time her voice is heard, someone remembers her children. Someone feels her pain. And that is how legends survive, not through fear, but through memory. As La Llorona's story crossed mountains, rivers, and borders, her name remained, but her face began to change. Every region, every town, reshaped her tale to mirror its fears, its language, its history. What began as a single voice of grief became a chorus of countless versions. In Mexico, she is Maria, the mother who drowned her children and now roams the earth in penance. But in Guatemala, she becomes La Saguanaba, a woman cursed for her vanity, who lures men to rivers only to reveal a skull beneath her veil. In El Salvador, she is called La Saguanaba as well, but here, her purpose is to punish unfaithful men. And in Venezuela, she is La Seona, protector of betrayed women, vengeful toward men who cheat or abandon their families. Each version reflects a different kind of sorrow and a different kind of justice. In the small villages of Colombia, the story changes again. Some say she appears by the water's edge, washing clothes in silence. Others claim she carries a lantern, guiding lost travelers before vanishing into mist. Always weeping, always alone. Across the Andes, her cry echoes in the Quechua language, transformed yet instantly recognizable. There, she is not always a villain. Sometimes, she is seen as a warning spirit, protecting children from wandering into the wilderness at night. In Texas, along the Rio Grande, Mexican-American families tell the same story, but with new details. They say La Llorona roams near water tanks, canals, and highways after dark. Some witnesses claim she appears dressed in a white gown, her hair long and dripping wet, her face hidden. Others report hearing her sobs from miles away, a sound that chills the blood and silences the night. Children are warned not to go near irrigation ditches or canals after sunset. Parents whisper, "La Llorona will take you if you don't come home." And for many families, this warning isn't just superstition, it's safety. The story even crossed into the United States, carried by migration and memory. In New Mexico, she appears near arroyos, dry riverbeds that flood after storms. In Colorado, people speak of her presence near mountain streams. And in California's Central Valley, some swear they've seen her reflection in the canals at night, shimmering in the moonlight, her weeping almost human. This adaptability is what makes her legend immortal. Like the rivers she haunts, La Llorona's story flows, bending, reshaping, yet never drying up. Anthropologists often describe La Llorona as a fluid myth, one that absorbs the emotions of the people who tell it. During times of war or hardship, she becomes a mother mourning her children lost to violence. During times of social change, she reflects the pain of women silenced or betrayed. And in every version, she carries the same sound, the eternal cry for what is lost. It's easy to see why her legend endured. Water connects people. Rivers flow through all civilization's sources of life, trade, and sometimes death. And La Llorona waits by the water, forever caught between worlds. In each place she visits, La Llorona mirrors the culture that tells her story. She is a reflection of guilt, of warning, of survival. Her face may change, her name may shift, but her tears remain the same. And as the legend spread across Latin America and beyond, a new pattern began to form, one that would turn her sorrow into song. Before she was a ghost that haunted the night, before her name was whispered to frighten children, La Llorona was a song. A melody carried through generations, sorrowful, beautiful, eternal. Her lament, "Ay, mis hijos, oh my children," inspired musicians, poets, and entire cultures to give voice to her grief. It became more than a warning tale. It became music of the soul. The origins of the song, La Llorona, are uncertain, like the legend itself. Historians trace its earliest forms to the Isthmus of Tehuantepec in Oaxaca, Mexico, during the 19th century. There, women would sing the haunting verses during the Day of the Dead, mourning lost loved ones. But as it spread, the song changed, lyrics were added, melodies reshaped. Some versions told of unrequited love. Others spoke of guilt, or loss, or longing for a dead child. And always, the refrain of sorrow remained. Over time, the song transformed from a regional folk tune into a national symbol of Mexico. During the 20th century, it was embraced by artists, singers, and filmmakers who saw in La Llorona something universal, a reflection of every heartbreak, every mother's cry, every soul that could not let go. One of the most famous interpretations came from Shavila Vargas, whose raw, emotional performance in the mid-1900s redefined what it meant to feel the legend. Shavila sang not to frighten, but to grieve. Her version made La Llorona human again, a woman torn by guilt, begging for forgiveness through song. They say that no one truly owns the song of La Llorona, because sorrow belongs to everyone. Through the 20th and 21st centuries, the song continued to evolve, sung by Lila Downs, Angela Aguilar, and countless others. It appeared in films like Frida, 2002, and Coco, 2017, bridging generations and borders. In Coco, the song became a bridge between life and death, a tribute to memory, love, and the pain of letting go. Its haunting beauty moved millions, proving that even in grief, there is art, and in art, there is immortality. The song's endurance reveals something deeper about La Llorona herself. She is not just a ghost, nor merely a warning. She is a voice, the voice of loss, of love betrayed, of motherhood unending. Every performance of La Llorona is a ritual, a retelling of the same tragedy, of a woman who lost everything, and yet cannot stop loving what she lost. When Mexican folk singers perform the song, they often say it must be sung from the chest, not the throat. Because the cry of La Llorona does not come from fear. It comes from pain, the kind of pain that echoes forever. Today, La Llorona is more than a ballad. It's a cultural monument. It plays in festivals, in films, in funerals, and in moments of personal grief. Its melody unites people who have never met because everyone, in some way, has known what it means to cry for something they cannot get back. The legend may have begun with a mother who drowned her children, but through song, she was reborn not as a villain, but as the spirit of sorrow itself. Her tears became notes, her story became harmony, and her cry became one of the most beautiful laments ever sung. Even now, when the song La Llorona is performed, audiences fall silent, because somewhere between the lyrics and the melody, they can almost hear her still searching, still weeping, forever bound to the sound that bears her name. But beneath the music lies something older, deeper symbols that speak not of ghosts, but of the human heart. Beneath the story of ghosts and rivers lies something far more profound. La Llorona is not only a tale of the supernatural. She is a mirror, one that reflects centuries of belief, fear, and transformation. Her tears carry the weight of symbols, motherhood, sin, colonial trauma, and the eternal conflict between love and loss. To understand her legend is to look not just into history, but into the human soul. At her heart, La Llorona is a mother, a woman defined not by who she was, but by what she lost. Her cry, "I miss Hios," echoes the universal grief of parenthood turned to tragedy. In many interpretations, her sorrow is not simply guilt. It is a reflection of the impossible burden placed upon mothers throughout history. The expectation to nurture, to sacrifice, to protect, and the despair when that role is broken. Her drowning of her children becomes the ultimate inversion of motherhood. It shocks because it defies nature. Yet her punishment, to wander the earth forever, feels like society's own judgment upon women who fail to meet its standards. Anthropologists often interpret La Llorona as the archetype of the punished mother, a symbol of both empathy and condemnation. She suffers eternally, but she is also feared. Her pain becomes warning, her tears become weapon. Every culture embeds moral codes within its myths. For the Spanish colonizers who recorded early versions of La Llorona's tale, she represented sin, lust, betrayal, disobedience. A woman who defied the moral order and paid with eternal damnation. This framing aligned with Catholic teachings introduced after the conquest. Women as moral guardians, purity as salvation, disobedience as danger. In that context, La Llorona became a living sermon, a warning to young women, a reminder of divine justice. But for indigenous communities, the meaning was different. Her wandering was not punishment from heaven. It was the cry of the earth itself. A mother spirit grieving the loss of her children, the indigenous people, after the arrival of the Spaniards. In that reading, her weeping is the sound of a culture mourning its own destruction. The rivers she walks beside are the veins of a wounded land. Some scholars see La Llorona as a continuation of ancient goddesses. Among the Aztecs, the goddess Cihuacotl, the serpent woman, was said to walk the streets at night, crying for her lost children. She was not evil, but prophetic. Her cries were said to foretell the fall of the Aztec Empire. When the Spanish priests encountered this myth, they folded it into their Christian worldview. What was once divine became damned. The goddess became a ghost. Thus, La Llorona carries two worlds within her: the indigenous, sacred, cyclical, connected to nature, and the colonial, moralistic, fearful, bound by sin. She is both mother and monster, victim and villain, a perfect symbol of a land forever torn between past and present. Historians have long noted how La Llorona's story parallels the history of conquest. Her drowning of her children can be seen as the destruction of a native lineage, a culture suffocated by foreign rule. Her endless wandering mirrors the search for identity in post-colonial nations. In this way, La Llorona is not just a ghost. She is the embodiment of cultural trauma. Her voice belongs to those silenced by history: indigenous mothers, enslaved women, the poor, the forgotten. Each cry is an act of remembrance. Each tear, a refusal to let the past vanish into silence. The river, her eternal companion, is more than setting. It is a boundary between life and death, purity and corruption, past and future. In Mexican folklore, water purifies the soul, yet in La Llorona's story, it also consumes. The same current that gives life takes it away. It is where her guilt is born and where her penance never ends. Psychologists interpret this as the subconscious mind, fluid, dark, and reflective. When La Llorona peers into the river, she does not see the world. She sees herself forever searching for forgiveness that will never come. Centuries after her first wail, La Llorona remains a living symbol. Artists paint her beside rivers dyed red with memory. Writers describe her as the voice of the oppressed. Feminists reinterpret her story as rebellion, a woman refusing to remain silent, even in death. Each generation reshapes her image. Some fear her, others honor her, but no one ignores her. Because somewhere within all of us, in moments of regret, or longing, or guilt, there is a small echo of her cry. La Llorona's meaning has changed with time, but her tears still flow through every retelling. They remind us that sorrow is both curse and connection, a bridge between who we were and who we have become. And as centuries passed, her face began to appear again, not just in myths, but in modern life, art, and film. Centuries have passed since the first cry of La Llorona was said to echo across the rivers of Mexico. Yet her voice has never truly gone silent. In modern times, her story has crossed into every form of art, from literature and cinema to theater, music, and even social media. She has transformed from a village tale into a global phenomenon, a spirit reborn for every generation that dares to listen. The earliest cinematic versions of La Llorona emerged in Mexico's golden age of cinema. In 1933, the film La Llorona became one of the first horror movies ever produced in Mexico, a black-and-white masterpiece that captured both her sorrow and her terror. The film blended colonial history with ghostly legend, introducing audiences to a new kind of fear, not from monsters, but from human guilt and love turned to tragedy. Later, in 1960, another version titled La Llorona presented her as both victim and avenger, a ghostly figure haunting a family line cursed by betrayal. Each retelling brought her closer to modern fears: family, morality, memory. In the decades that followed, filmmakers across Latin America and beyond would reinterpret her story. Sometimes she was a ghost, sometimes a symbol, and sometimes a reflection of society itself. In 1974, La Maldición de la Llorona, The Curse of the Crying Woman, she became a vengeful witch. In 2019, Hollywood introduced The Curse of La Llorona, a film set in 1970 Los Angeles, connecting the legend to immigrant families haunted by trauma and loss. While the movie was met with mixed reviews, its impact was undeniable. It brought La Llorona into the global spotlight, a legend once confined to rivers now flowing through the screens of millions. Writers have long seen La Llorona as a symbol of deeper truths. In poetry, she appears as both sinner and saint, a reflection of women torn between love and duty. Mexican-American authors such as Gloria Anzaldúa and Sandra Cisneros have used her image to explore the identity of La Chicana, the woman caught between two worlds, between cultures, languages, and expectations. In these writings, La Llorona is no longer a monster to be feared. She becomes a metaphor for the pain of cultural displacement, the endless search for belonging in a world divided by borders. Modern artists have embraced La Llorona's image, a woman in white, hair flowing, face streaked with tears. Murals across Mexico City and Los Angeles depict her not as a ghost, but as a revolutionary spirit, standing by rivers turned toxic, crying not for children, but for a dying earth. In music, her song continues to evolve. Contemporary musicians mix the traditional La Llorona melody with electronic and orchestral sounds, keeping her lament alive for new generations. Every interpretation brings a new layer: environmental, feminist, political. Because La Llorona's voice, adaptable and eternal, speaks for whatever pain the world is feeling. In psychology, La Llorona has become an archetype. Therapists studying Latin American folklore describe her as the embodiment of intergenerational grief, pain that passes through families, unspoken but deeply felt. Parents who warn their children with her name unknowingly keep alive centuries of inherited emotion: fear, guilt, love, and protection. And in modern media, from TikTok to YouTube documentaries, her legend continues to grow. People claim to hear her cries in rural Mexico, in the deserts of New Mexico, and near canals in Texas. Videos capture strange sounds, eerie reflections, distant wailing that chills even skeptics. Some dismiss it as superstition. Others swear it's real. But all agree, there is something hauntingly timeless about her. Few legends survive centuries. Fewer still evolve with time. La Llorona's endurance lies in her ability to change shape from spirit to song, from curse to symbol, from mother to myth. She speaks differently to every era. To the past, she was guilt. To the present, she is grief. To the future, she may be hope. Even today, when the story is told in classrooms or shared online, people feel the same shiver, not from fear alone, but from recognition. Because La Llorona's story is our story, a reminder that love, once broken, never truly dies. In every age, her cry takes new meaning. In every retelling, her tears fall again. She is eternal not because of terror, but because her sorrow is something every soul understands. The story of La Llorona endures not only because it is terrifying, but because it touches something deep within the human mind. Behind every ghost, there is emotion. Behind every legend, a truth about who we are and what we fear. For centuries, La Llorona has haunted rivers and villages. But perhaps the place she truly lives is in our collective consciousness. At its core, La Llorona's story is about guilt. A guilt so powerful, it transcends death.